President Donald Trump's recent tour of the Middle East, which included stops in Qatar and Saudi Arabia, culminated in a visit to the United Arab Emirates (UAE) on May 15, 2025. This trip marks a significant moment in the Trump administration's foreign policy, providing insight into the administration's approach to regional diplomacy, defense agreements, and economic partnerships. Upon arriving in Abu Dhabi, Trump was greeted with military honors, including an escort by UAE fighter jets, a ceremonial gesture reflecting the deep ties between the two nations. He was welcomed by UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, with whom he later attended a state dinner at the ornate Qasr Al Watan Palace, a symbol of the UAE's cultural heritage and political significance. Earlier that day, Trump addressed U.S. military personnel stationed at Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, emphasizing the administration's commitment to end conflicts, not start them. He reassured the troops of America's military strength, asserting, "When we're threatened, America's military will answer our enemies without even thinking about it." His address also included praise for a multi-billion-dollar defense and business package signed with Qatar, including an unprecedented $96 billion order for Boeing aircraft, which has revitalized the company's fortunes after years of legal and financial struggles. The president's Middle East visit was not without controversy. During his time in Qatar, Trump reiterated his stance on Iran, suggesting that the country needs to choose between an intelligent or brutal resolution regarding its nuclear ambitions. "We'd like to see if we could solve the Iran problem in an intelligent way as opposed to a brutal way," he stated, framing the ongoing tensions as a central issue in U.S. foreign policy. In a notable turn of events, Trump addressed the stalled peace talks between Russia and Ukraine, expressing skepticism about the possibility of progress without his involvement. "I didn't think it was possible for Putin to go if I'm not there," he remarked, implying that his presence is pivotal to any negotiations. This statement underscores the complex dynamics at play in the region, where Trump's influence is perceived as crucial to mediating conflicts. The trip also included discussions of the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, where Trump described the area as a territory of death and destruction for many years, reiterating his proposal to transform Gaza into a freedom zone. His comments reflect a broader strategy of seeking diplomatic solutions while navigating the intricate web of Middle Eastern geopolitics. As the trip progressed, Trump faced scrutiny over his plan to accept a $400 million jet from Qatar to be used as Air Force One, which has raised ethical questions and concerns about national security. Critics, including Republican Senator Susan Collins, labeled the proposal as rife with legal, ethical, and practical impediments. Looking to the future, the outcomes of this Middle Eastern tour are yet to be fully realized. As Trump continues to navigate complex international relationships and domestic challenges, the implications of his discussions with leaders in Qatar and the UAE could resonate well beyond his presidency, influencing U.S. foreign policy and regional stability for years to come. The administration's ongoing approach to Iran, the Israel-Palestine conflict, and peace negotiations in Ukraine will be critical areas to watch as the geopolitical landscape evolves. In a striking turn of events that has captivated political observers and the general public alike, former President Donald Trump is reportedly set to accept a lavish gift from the Qatari government, a luxury Boeing 747-8 jumbo jet valued at an astonishing $400 million. This aircraft, dubbed a Palace in the Sky, is slated to be utilized as Air Force One before being handed over to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation, raising eyebrows and questions about the implications of such a foreign gift. Trump's acceptance of this sizable donation comes on the heels of a tumultuous political landscape where accusations of corruption have been a staple of the dialogue. Just a few years ago, the Republican Party was in an uproar over Hunter Biden's business dealings in Ukraine and China, leading to calls for impeachment. While the Hunter Biden saga was a significant controversy, the scale and implications of Trump's potential acceptance of the Qatari jet seem to dwarf those earlier concerns. In a post on Truth Social, Trump confirmed the gift, stating, "The Defense Department is getting a gift free of charge." However, this arrangement has sparked fears of potential violations of the Emoluments Clause of the Constitution, which prohibits government officials from accepting gifts from foreign states. Beyond the legal ramifications, the national security implications are profound. The idea of a plane gifted by a nation that has been linked to controversial groups and actions raises serious questions about the integrity and influence of foreign powers in U.S. governance. The Trump family's business entanglements have also come under scrutiny. Recently, Eric Trump traveled to Qatar to finalize a deal on a luxury golf resort worth $5.5 billion, promising significant profits for the Trump Organization. Meanwhile, Donald Trump Jr. is set to open a private club in Georgetown alongside associates of Trump's special envoy to the Middle East, further expanding the family's financial enterprises. This growing web of foreign business dealings paints a picture of a presidency that some critics describe as operating under a pay-to-play model, with foreign nations using financial incentives to gain favor and influence. While the Republican Party's silence on this new scandal contrasts sharply with their previous outrage over Hunter Biden, a few voices have emerged to call for accountability. Representative Richie Torres, a Democrat from New York, has urged investigations into what he termed a flying grift. He highlighted Qatar's troubling history of financing organizations associated with terrorism, stating, "Air Force One will have something in common with Hamas, paid for by Qatar." This sentiment underscores a growing unease over the potential implications of Trump's actions on national security. Adding to the complexity of the situation, Trump's ventures into cryptocurrency have also attracted attention. In a recent contest, holders of Trump's dollar Trump Memecoin were offered a chance to win a dinner with him at his golf club. This initiative, alongside other crypto ventures tied to the Trump family, has raised alarm among lawmakers. They are now investigating possible connections between these crypto activities and foreign influence, particularly concerning donations and lobbying efforts. As the political climate continues to shift, the implications of Trump's actions and the Qatari gift could reverberate through the fabric of American politics. Observers are keenly watching as this narrative unfolds, particularly as it intersects with ongoing discussions about foreign influence, national security, and the ethical boundaries of political conduct. With the 2024 election cycle approaching, Trump's decisions may not only affect his legacy but also the broader landscape of U.S. governance and foreign relations. Looking ahead, the potential fallout from these developments remains uncertain. Will Congress take action, or will the political discourse continue to be overshadowed by partisan divides? As investigations unfold and public opinion shifts, the implications of this palace in the sky may shape the narrative of Trump's second administration and beyond, raising fundamental questions about the intersection of power ethics and the influence of foreign nations in American democracy. In a significant diplomatic tour, President Donald Trump has recently concluded a visit to the United Arab Emirates (UAE) after stops in Qatar and Saudi Arabia, marking a critical moment in U.S. relations with key Middle Eastern allies. This trip, which comes amidst ongoing tensions in the region and contentious domestic issues, underscores the administration's renewed focus on foreign policy as it seeks to strengthen military and economic ties. Upon arriving in Abu Dhabi, Trump was welcomed by UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, highlighting the importance of the relationship between the two nations. Earlier in the day at Al Udeid Air Base near Doha, Qatar, Trump addressed U.S. military personnel, commending their service and announcing a multi-billion-dollar package of business and defense deals with Qatar, including a notable order for Boeing 787 aircraft valued at $96 billion. During his address to the troops, Trump emphasized his administration's commitment to end conflicts, not start them, while also asserting that he would not hesitate to use American power against adversaries. "We are the finest we have in the battle to defend civilization," he stated, reinforcing the administration's narrative of strength and resolve in foreign engagements. However, the geopolitical landscape is fraught with complications. Trump's remarks came amidst reports that Iran is prepared to negotiate a new nuclear deal with the U.S. contingent on the lifting of economic sanctions. This shift could potentially reshape the dynamics of U.S.-Iran relations, which have been tense under the Trump administration. A senior Iranian official confirmed Tehran's willingness to forego highly enriched uranium and allow international inspections in exchange for sanctions relief, a proposal that could prompt further discussions in the coming weeks. While the president was focused on these international relations, significant challenges loom closer to home. The Supreme Court is currently deliberating on Trump's controversial plan to reshape birthright citizenship, an issue that has sparked nationwide protests and legal challenges. Trump's executive order, issued on his first day in office, aimed to redefine citizenship guarantees under the 14th Amendment, and the court's decision could have far-reaching implications for federal authority. In the background of this political theater, Trump's administration is also facing scrutiny over domestic policies, especially concerning the proposed acceptance of a $400 million Qatari jet to be used as Air Force One. Critics, including Senator Susan Collins, have raised concerns about the legal and ethical implications of such a gift. As Trump continues to navigate complex international waters while addressing mounting domestic pressures, the implications of this Middle East trip are poised to resonate in both arenas. The president's engagements signal a clear intent to bolster alliances while potentially setting the stage for pivotal negotiations with Iran. With the Supreme Court's upcoming decisions likely to influence the administration's trajectory, observers are left to ponder how these developments will shape the political landscape as the 2026 elections approach. Looking ahead, the administration's ability to manage these intertwined issues will be critical. As Trump seeks to solidify his foreign policy legacy, the outcomes of these negotiations and court rulings will undoubtedly play a significant role in defining the next chapter of his presidency. In recent months, the impact of former President Donald Trump's economic policies has reverberated through various sectors, particularly in technology and international trade. As the United States grapples with the consequences of these policies, analysts and industry leaders are examining the complex landscape of tariffs, investment opportunities, and the shifting dynamics of global talent and technology. One significant aspect of Trump's administration was its approach to trade relations, particularly with China. Recently, during a high-stakes visit to the Middle East, Trump emphasized securing $600 billion in investments from Gulf nations alongside lifting sanctions on Syria and encouraging Saudi Arabia to normalize relations with Israel. This visit underscored a departure from traditional diplomatic measures, focusing instead on economic agreements and technology partnerships. Before our eyes, a new generation of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts and tired divisions of the past, Trump stated, highlighting a vision for the Middle East defined by commerce rather than chaos. However, this focus on economic deals, particularly in the technology sector, is not without its challenges. The semiconductor industry, crucial for powering modern technology, has been at the forefront of these discussions. Despite the push to revitalize U.S. manufacturing through initiatives like the CHIPS and Science Act, which aims to triple domestic semiconductor production capacity, the Trump administration's ongoing tariff strategies have created uncertainty within the sector. Analysts report that companies such as Samsung are delaying significant investments and expansions due to the volatility of trade policies, with potential delays in new manufacturing facilities extending timelines from 2024 to as late as 2028. The ramifications of these policies extend beyond just production timelines. The U.S. share of global semiconductor production has plummeted from 37% in 1990 to a mere 10% in 2022, leading to a heavy reliance on imports. Industry leaders express concern that the combination of tariffs and regulatory uncertainties could stifle the very growth the administration aims to achieve. If the tariffs are considered long-term policy, I think it'll really ice the capital markets from putting real money on the table, said Barry Broom, president of the Greater Sacramento Economic Council. Simultaneously, the U.S. is witnessing a brain drain as researchers and academics consider leaving the country in response to restrictive policies and funding cuts under the Trump administration. The European Union and countries like France, Spain, and Denmark are actively positioning themselves to attract this talent, offering competitive salaries and robust research funding to fill the void left by U.S. policies. A recent poll revealed that 3 out of 4 American researchers are contemplating relocation, drawn by the promise of greater academic freedom and financial support abroad, as nations vie for top talent. The urgency for the U.S. to reassess its strategies becomes increasingly clear. The Australian Strategic Policy Institute characterized this moment as a once-in-a-century brain-gain opportunity, urging governments to respond swiftly to attract disaffected American researchers. In Europe, initiatives such as France's $113 million investment in attracting American scientists reflect a concerted effort to capitalize on the challenges faced by U.S. institutions. In the broader context of international relations, Trump's administration's approach to technology exports has also evolved. Recently, the administration rescinded restrictions on semiconductor exports to key allies in the Middle East, signaling a shift towards fostering closer economic ties while simultaneously addressing concerns about technology leaks to adversarial nations like China. Looking ahead, the outcomes of these intertwined policies will likely shape the future of the U.S. semiconductor industry and its global standing. As investments flow into overseas markets and research institutions, the critical question remains: can the U.S. navigate the complexities of its economic policies to reclaim its position as a leader in technology and innovation? The coming months will be pivotal in determining whether the nation can turn the tide and foster an environment conducive to growth, collaboration, and technological advancement. In a significant legal development that underscores the complexities of immigration enforcement and military jurisdiction. A federal judge has dismissed nearly 100 trespassing charges against migrants who crossed into a newly designated national defense area along the U.S.-Mexico border in New Mexico. This ruling comes in the wake of a controversial initiative by the Trump administration aimed at arresting undocumented migrants for allegedly trespassing on what has been declared a military installation. The situation began to unfold after President Trump issued an order designating a strip of land along the 180-mile stretch of the New Mexico border as an Army base, significantly escalating the enforcement of border security measures. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth had publicly lauded the arrest, stating, "When you cross illegally, you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law." Under this directive, around 400 migrants were charged with willfully violating security regulations, misdemeanors that could result in up to a year in jail, leading to overwhelmed local jails and crowded federal courtrooms. However, Judge Gregory B. Wormuth, a former federal prosecutor, ruled that the government failed to prove that the migrants were aware they were entering a restricted area. In his dismissal of the charges, Wormuth noted, "The United States provides no facts from which one could reasonably conclude that the defendant knew he was entering the designated military area." Defense attorneys highlighted that many migrants were arrested before proper warning signs were posted, or they crossed in areas where the restrictions were unclear, exacerbating the confusion surrounding the new regulations. As the judge dismissed charges against 98 migrants, he indicated that similar dismissals might follow for hundreds of others due to what he termed the prosecution's cut-and-paste approach to factual allegations. While the dismissed charges pertain specifically to trespassing, the migrants still face charges for illegal entry into the United States, leading to potential deportation as they remain in custody without bond. The ramifications of this legal decision extend beyond individual cases. They raise significant questions about the broader implications of military presence along the border. Local officials and residents expressed concern about the lack of clarity regarding public access to previously open lands now deemed military zones. Senator Martin Heinrich, a Democrat from New Mexico, questioned the status of these lands, asking, "Are these areas now closed to public entry, or are they still accessible to U.S. citizens?" The military installation has not only caused distress among migrants and defense attorneys but has also sparked anxiety among local hikers, hunters, and humanitarian volunteers. Legislators and community leaders fear the militarization of the border could lead to unintended consequences, including the potential for confrontations between civilians and military personnel. As Luna County Commissioner Ray Trejo pointed out, the administration didn't think this through, highlighting the precarious balance between national security and civil liberties. While the new military measures have garnered support from some conservative constituents who argue they enhance security and curb illegal activities, critics argue that the deployment of active duty troops and armored vehicles on U.S. soil creates a tense environment reminiscent of an occupation. "It's beginning to feel like an occupation," stated Sarah Silva, a Democratic state representative from Las Cruces, voicing the unease felt by many in the community as the legal landscape continues to evolve. The future of border enforcement strategies under the Trump administration remains uncertain. The dismissed charges may reflect a growing judicial skepticism towards heightened militarization and the treatment of migrants crossing the border. Legal experts and community advocates will undoubtedly be watching closely as this situation develops, seeking clarity not only on the legal ramifications for migrants but also on the implications of military jurisdiction in these contested areas. As the Biden administration approaches, it will be critical to examine how these policies and legal interpretations may shift in response to changing political dynamics and public opinion. Republican lawmakers are expressing significant unease regarding President Donald Trump's recent diplomatic overtures in the Middle East, particularly his acceptance of a luxurious gift from Qatar, a Boeing 747-8 jet valued at approximately $400 million. This decision, made in tandem with a $96 billion deal involving Boeing and Qatar Airways, has raised red flags among GOP members concerned about potential conflicts of interest and national security implications. During his trip to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates, Trump announced a sweeping agreement for Qatar Airways to purchase up to 210 Boeing jets, a move that could revitalize the struggling aircraft manufacturer. The deal, celebrated by Trump as a major success in promoting U.S. manufacturing, was also accompanied by announcements of Qatar's involvement in mediating negotiations with Iran to limit its nuclear capabilities, which Trump characterized as a peaceful alternative to military conflict. However, the president's acceptance of the Qatari jet as a temporary Air Force One has not been without controversy. Senator Todd Young of Indiana, a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, articulated his discomfort, pointing out the potential national security risks associated with using an aircraft gifted from a nation that has been linked to financing terrorist groups. "I think there are national security concerns that need to be addressed about listening devices, safety specs, and potentially other issues," Young stated. Other Republican senators echoed these sentiments. Ted Cruz of Texas voiced strong apprehension, citing Qatar's history of funding extremist groups, while Senate Majority Leader John Thune indicated that any finalized deal regarding the aircraft would undergo intense scrutiny. The fact that Trump's family has business interests in Qatar, most notably a recent $5.5 billion luxury resort project, further complicates the optics of his diplomatic engagements. A senator who spoke on the condition of anonymity warned that perceptions of impropriety could undermine public trust in government officials. Democratic leaders have seized upon the situation to question the integrity of Trump's foreign policy. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer described the trip as more of a personal business venture for Trump than a legitimate diplomatic mission. He urged Republican colleagues to vocalize their concerns more forcefully, calling for accountability regarding Trump's dealings with Qatar. Compounding the controversy are ongoing negotiations regarding the Houthis in Yemen and Iran's nuclear program. Lawmakers from both parties are scrutinizing the implications of Trump's recent announcement that the United States would cease military actions against the Houthis in exchange for a halt to attacks on shipping routes in the Red Sea. Critics argue that this approach neglects the security of Israel, particularly as the Houthis have targeted the nation with missile strikes. As the diplomatic landscape continues to evolve, the potential consequences of Trump's actions are drawing attention not only from lawmakers but also from national security experts. Concerns about the Qatari jet's suitability for military use, including necessary upgrades to meet U.S. standards, could result in costs exceeding $1 billion. Looking ahead, Trump's Middle Eastern diplomacy appears to be a double-edged sword, balancing the potential for enhanced international relations with the risks of ethical breaches and national security vulnerabilities. The ramifications of his business dealings in the region will likely remain a point of contention as Congress evaluates both the legitimacy of his actions and the broader implications for U.S. foreign policy. As these developments unfold, they will undoubtedly shape the political narrative leading up to the next election cycle, compelling lawmakers to navigate a complex interplay of diplomacy, ethics, and national interests.